Hello and a very warm welcome to St Peter Mancroft Church here in the heart of Norwich. My name's Edward Carter, I'm the vicar here. Every Wednesday at 1 o'clock we have a reflection in the church, and anyone who's here in the building is welcome to stay and enjoy listening to the reflection, and if you're joining us online, welcome as well. If on the other hand you're here to have a look around, please do carry on enjoying this beautiful place. Yesterday, in the United States of America, Kamala Harris announced her running mate in the potential presidential contest that's happening later in the year. A man I hadn't heard of, but a man called Tim Walz. And that follows, of course, the announcement that one of the other potential candidates, Donald Trump, made. His running mate is to be someone called J.D. Vance. It's not for me, of course, to comment on particular people, nor on American politics, certainly not. But it set me thinking, with all these announcements about running mates and potential vice presidents, it set me thinking about the very idea of having someone called a running mate or a co-pilot, someone who will accompany you in some great endeavour. I found myself asking the question, what makes for a good running mate? What makes for a good companion? So I scratched my head a bit, and to start with I thought, well, what you really need is someone who you're really close to, someone who you're kind of together with in this great mission that you're undertaking, someone you have a great empathy with, someone perhaps very much like you, someone you're certainly in solidarity with, a real sense of a team. Or they say, don't they, in America, the ticket. You're both on the ticket together. Yeah. However, although all of that is true, I did then, as I scratched my head a bit more, realise that perhaps having someone as a really good companion or running mate in this context, actually you need someone who complements you as well. Someone who, in fact, is quite different to you in some ways, someone who brings different gifts, different skills, a different perspective, someone who provides a real contrast to, perhaps if it's you choosing your running mate, someone who provides a real contrast to you. So then I scratched my head for a third time and thought, well, if you need a good running mate, you need someone who's very much like you and you enjoy being with, someone you can be together with on the same ticket, and you need someone very different to you, someone who complements you, someone who has a real contrast with what you can bring. How can these two seemingly different things both be possible at once? And then my mind took a lateral leap, as it's prone to doing sometimes, and I found myself jumping to the Olympic Games, which is still running, reaching its exciting, culminating few days. And of course, in the Olympics, there are some individual sports, but there are many team sports or even pair sports, not standing for election at all, but rowing, for example, there's the pair or double sculls, and you need two people in the boat. They need to be very much together, doing the same thing, but they need, I think probably it's true, they need to complement one another, particularly when they're out of the boat, when they're working together towards the great event. They need to work really well in that sort of complementing, and the differences they bring are important. Or the diving, the pairs of divers doing amazing things. Often they're two quite different characters who form a really good pair, who can then be completely together on the diving board, completely synchronized. So again, that togetherness and the complementarity seems to be a really important thing. If you broaden it out and think of one of the bigger team sports like soccer, the rugby sevens, well, in soccer, you can't have 11 strikers who are all desperate to have the ball and pop the ball in the net. No. Nor indeed can you have 11 goalkeepers. I mean, that would be crazy. You might stop the opponents for a bit, but you would fail as a team. And more generally, in a team that big of 11 people, you can't have 11 leaders, actually. You need to have someone who leads, and you need a team around them, a team that will complement that leadership and those skills that are brought. And of course, the best teams, as I'm sure we all realise as we think about these things, and indeed as we experience them in life, the best teams have a wide variety of different kinds of people in them. Different kinds of members, that's certainly true, some of the weakest teams are when a leader has appointed 10 other people who are all virtually identical to them because they think they'll just agree with them and do what's right. But they're the weakest teams. They often crumble and fail. The strongest teams are when a leader is brave enough to appoint a variety of other people who bring different perspectives, who complement what that leader offers. And I think it's probably true, certainly sport I've touched on, it's true of every kind of organisation, it's known to be true in the business world. I think it's true in a household as well. Of course, households come in many shapes and sizes, but often what makes for a beautiful household, a beautiful home, is when you've got different people who are all together bringing their different gifts, their different things they love, which complement really nicely. And if it's true of a business, if it's true of a household, if it's true of an Olympic team, if it's true perhaps of a presidential ticket, then actually more generally, and in a way more seriously, it's important of a whole community, a big community, even a nation state. It's really important for that breadth of different human gifts to be represented and valued. It's been really sad, painful for me, and I'm sure for you as well, to read about and see about all the recent unrest that seems to have been happening, has been happening here in England these last more than a week now, after the 3 tragic deaths in Southport on the 29th of July. And the unrest, the rioting, it's arisen, I believe, it's arisen out of a failure, I think, on the part of some people to see our life together in terms of that togetherness and the solidarity, that kind of common human experience, a failure to see that properly, to see that clearly, even while, of course, recognising that we are all quite varied, we're very different. Each one of us is a unique and different person. And of course, if you look at everyone being different and then it's a problem, then you end up with anger and violence and aggression. But if you look at the variety of all the other people in the world, and indeed in your own community, and you think, wow, that's amazing, that's beautiful, it's such a glorious thing that no one is quite like me, but yet we are all in the human race together. We all share so much, even though we're all quite different. But I believe really strongly, to go back to my opening comments about the presidential running mates and tickets in America, I believe really strongly that every person that we meet, every person I meet day by day, should be seen as a potential running mate on that ticket. You know, I could be someone's vice president if they were to be president, or maybe the other way around. Or to use an expression, when flying aeroplanes, every person I meet should be a possible co-pilot, or I could be a co-pilot to anyone if they're flying their life or whatever it might be they're involved with through the world. Another person who probably is quite different to me, but who will complement in an amazing way the gifts and the skills, the perspectives that I bring to bear. And hopefully every person I meet with their gifts, their perspectives, their skills, I would be able, in my difference from them, but my solidarity with them, I would be able to complement beautifully what they're doing. Every person, I mean, that's a big ask because, goodness me, there's such a variety of people in the world. But if every other person was someone with whom I can find that deep sense of solidarity, even in the difference that we have, and that mutual regard then that grows, even if it's someone that at first glance we think, goodness me, am I going to be able to stand alongside them? I believe the answer should always be yes, and actually is always yes. So these last few days, of course, like most of us, I didn't know the 3 young girls who tragically lost their lives in Southport, but they've been in my prayers. B.B. King and Elsie Stancombe and Alice Agnier. They've been in my prayers, and all who've been affected by their deaths, their families and others, friends, that whole community. But I've also been praying really quite hard for our nation, our communities, the community here in Norwich, yes, but actually communities up and down our land. Been praying hard that we would all discover that sense of solidarity and oneness, that togetherness that we are offered as a gift, I believe, from God as fellow human beings within God's amazing but complicated creation. I've been praying hard that we would know God's gifts to us, gifts of peace and gifts of a kind of common purpose, as if on the same ticket for an election, as if in the same sporting team, as if in the same rowing boat, as if perhaps running some organisation together, that common purpose that we are given as human beings, a common purpose that is brought to life because we are all different, but a common purpose that is strong, based on a deep mutual respect that we really must have for one another. Thank you for listening to my few thoughts, my reflection this Wednesday. We have a reflection every Wednesday, and one of my colleagues will be giving the one in a week's time. I hope you can join us again for that, or perhaps catch up online. But thank you again for joining us, and thank you for listening to what I've had to say today.